Hey, with all relationships that have come and gone, that are not a present fact of your, current day-to-day, there was always, I guess if you took the action to end it, there was always a last straw. And upon thinking about this for a while, no, not a while, like contemplating it for years, thinking about all the weird patterns of previous friendships, family relationships, romantic relationships, I've come to realize that the last straw, at least for me, is usually a pretty insignificant one in the scope of everything. It's almost never that, like, the worst thing that a person did that made me think I shouldn't be associated with them, or I shouldn't be as close to them as I have been. It's pretty rare that, like, the biggest thing that they did is, like, what immediately caused me to stop. What I find about myself is that I love to give people second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances. And the thing is, I have less capacity to give you another chance with each one. So, like, maybe it was a huge problem that you posed for me, but my capacity to give another chance was like this at the time. But then it just happened to shrink and shrink and shrink, and then whatever you did happened to be just a little bit bigger. Even if it was much, much smaller than, like, the worst thing that you did. It just happened to be bigger than my capabilities of letting it go. I talk about this because I remember talking about, what the last straw was, why I ended a relationship with somebody, and the person listening to me was like, that was the last straw? And I was like, yeah, it's a pretty minor thing, I guess, but it was part of a larger pattern of them doing this same thing, and there were other times when they angered me worse, but that's kind of irrelevant because this was the individual thing that finally just twisted my perspective to I shouldn't be continuing this. It's frustrating because I would like to think that I have enough self-respect to cut things off with somebody when it's something that I know is sort of is such a red flag that I just know that it's going down a bad path. I'd like to think that I'd only ever cut things off at the worst thing. But at the same time, I think it's something about me and something about a lot of people that, we like to believe that we made the right choice, for one thing, by allowing this person into our life. There's the whole fallacy of, when people buy something that's a big purchase, especially a stupid one, they want to reassure themselves that that was a good purchase. So oftentimes they'll invest even more money into that thing. It's hard, though. It's really, really hard to explain to somebody. It's hard to cut ties with anybody for any reason, but it's hard to really explain to somebody that, like, it's not this individual last thing that you did. That's literally, the old saying, the straw that broke the camel's back, the last straw is almost by definition a pretty small, seemingly insignificant thing. It's a tiny thing on top of a whole bunch of either tiny or big things that create just this one big block that you just can't get past eventually. You do become thankful, once Once you finally cut it off for whatever reason, you become grateful for your own judgment and self-knowledge that you could finally admit to yourself that this thing isn't working. And of course, you become grateful for those relationships that haven't tested your patience. And you're constantly reminded, if you keep good enough company, that, like, people don't have to just drain all the energy out of you. There are certain people you don't need to give 5th, 6th, 7th chances to, because you don't even ever feel the need to give them a second chance because they never violate the first chance. Speaking of those people, I'm about to go see my awesome friend Mike, and I'm going to give him this little pin, which is James Stewart in Rear Window. James Stewart is either his favorite actor or one of his favorite actors, and it's his birthday coming up. I have other presents for him, but I can't wait to give him this one, and it's a pretty small one, so I'm excited to see what he thinks.